Welcome back to the Soul Synergy Network podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Irma Elisheva Diaz. Most of you may not know I am a chaplain and bereavement specialist with VITAS Healthcare, a nationwide end-of-life organization. And also, I'm a wellness and mental health advocate for those who serve on the front lines of compassion. Today, we're stepping into a conversation that is long overdue, a conversation about burnout. Not the I need a vacation kind of burnout, but the deep soul-level exhaustion that shows up when you hold space for others day after day, grief after grief, and crises after crises. You may be listening and not realize how precious hospice work and first responders work really is. I like to refer to it as sacred work, but it can also be emotionally, spiritually, and physically draining in ways the world rarely sees. Too many hospice workers carry compassion fatigue, moral stress, emotional depletion, and the invisible weight of accumulated grief, all while continuing to show up with a smile, a calm presence, and a healing touch. And this isn't just true for hospice. It's true for all first responders, our paramedics, firefighters, law enforcement, emergency nurses, crisis teams, and medical staff who can run toward what everyone else wants to run away from. They carry images they can't unsee. They absorb trauma that isn't theirs. They move from one crisis to the next without time to breathe, recover, or make sense of what just happened. They hold the weight of other people's tragedies in their bodies, in their dreams, and in their nervous systems, often without recognition, without support, or a place to put it down. Somehow, you observe that they keep responding, they keep serving, they keep protecting, they keep caring, even when their own emotional and spiritual tanks are running really low. Hospice workers and first responders may work in different settings, but they share the same reality: a life of deep service, deep sacrifice, and deep emotional cost that the world rarely sees or understands. And still, they keep showing up. They hold the line. They help us through our hardest moments while carrying silent battles of their own. And there's another truth we don't talk about enough: the grief that lives inside the helpers themselves. Hospice workers, nurses, clinicians, social workers, chaplains, and first responders carry what we call cumulative or layered grief. It's the grief of holding hands during someone's final breath, the grief of losses that pile up faster and the heart can process, the grief of witnessing suffering over and over, the grief of not being able to save everyone, the grief of absorbing the pain of strangers until it becomes part of your nervous system. And over time, this constant exposure can create something similar to trauma, not because helpers are weak, but because they're human. Their bodies keep the stories, their minds replay scenes, their hearts grow tender and tired at the same time. And while they're caring for the world, their own unspoken grief grows quietly in the background, waiting to be acknowledged. This is the invisible spiritual burden of caregiving and first response work. It builds layer by layer until the soul whispers, "I can't keep holding on to this alone." Today, because there is such a need, I have invited, and I'm honored to do this, welcoming a colleague of mine, someone who understands this reality more deeply than most. Crystal Waters, the general manager at VITAS Healthcare in Covina, California. She is a leader who supports staff, patients, and families while navigating the immense emotional landscape of end-of-life care. Crystal has served in and walked beside teams during their hardest moments, supported caregivers on the brink of burnout, and served as an anchor of strength and compassion in a profession that demands so much of the heart. Before I introduce Crystal, I want to just read a short paragraph about her. Crystal began her healthcare career in 2009 at San Antonio Community Hospital while completing her nursing degree at California Baptist University. After earning her Bachelor of Science in Nursing in 2012, she worked as a registered nurse in acute care, where a deeply personal experience, losing her stepfather during hospice care, reshaped her understanding of compassionate, family-centered support. That experience led Crystal to VITAS Healthcare in Covina in 2015, where she served as an RN, case manager, and later transitioned into leadership. Over the years, she has held several key roles, including Director of Patient Care Services and National Clinical Leadership positions. In April 2025, Crystal stepped into her current role as General Manager of the Covina program, continuing a career in growth, service, and compassionate leadership. Crystal, it is an honor to have you here today, and welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this difficult conversation.
Yes, when you brought it up to me the day we were having breakfast, I thought to myself, this is like a perfect topic. It's so needed right now, you know? So tell me, when you think about burnout today, what concerns you most for frontline workers?
So there's two parts that probably concern me most. First of what you're speaking about, right? It just being layered and layered and layered and not addressing, and the impact that that can have on that individual. On top of that is the impact that it has on the patient, the family, and the community when that individual has burnout that isn't being addressed, right? So poor quality of care, neglect in severe situations can happen when this burnout is not addressed.
Yeah. And when you see that, like how do you see it manifest itself in the team? Like how would you see that? How would you notice that?
The biggest indicator of burnout is lack of engagement. Right? Because usually lack of engagement ties to lack of fulfillment, which directly impacts burnout.
Okay.
If you're doing something that brings you fulfillment, not saying that there's not a chance that you're going to get burnout, but it's significantly reduced.
Okay.
So if you're noticing people calling out, if you're noticing someone in our field where we have a team meeting weekly that's not really speaking as much anymore, or not really sharing things personally that they used to before, really noticing your team on a personal level, not on an employee level, is how you can start seeing these signs of burnout.
Yeah, and it's and I would imagine it starts to impact the entire team, you know, because they start to like withdraw or not give it their all, and then people start noticing it, and you know that can lead to other things too. So, how do you define burnout from your professional perspective in terms of you know, how you would address it to someone? Like if you were talking with them about it as a manager, you know, how would you address it to them? What perspective would you use? Would you ask about their personal? Would you ask about their, you know, their mode of work? You know, how their working hours, how they're divvying up their time? How would you do that?
Yeah. So just like what you said right now, I think the most important thing that I've learned as a leader is to care about your people as people.
Right.
Right? Yes, they're your employees, they're part of your team, but at the end of the day, that's a person.
Right.
It's critical to ask them, right, with boundaries,
Yeah.
or personal questions.
Right.
Another thing that I think sometimes people are scared to ask is, does this still bring you fulfillment? I understand how that can be a little bit of a straightforward question.
Right.
But it's critical to assess
Absolutely.
that, right? And then the other thing is making a safe space for burnout, which is kind of what our first conversation at that breakfast was, right?
Right.
As healthcare providers, often it's a thankless job. And we feel like, well, we have to do this because this is the profession that we chose.
Right.
And we just have to keep going.
Right.
But there are options. There are other options. So making somebody feel comfortable with the fact that maybe this line of work, not saying healthcare altogether, but hospice or acute care setting, maybe this isn't the right area for you.
Right.
Where so often people just push through because they feel like, I paid a lot of money for this degree. My family's proud that I'm a nurse or a healthcare provider. I can't give up this profession that I've been doing for how long? And they just think in that tunnel without thinking, no, this has so many venues that you could do as a healthcare provider. So really allowing that space for people to be open and vulnerable about what they might be feeling.
Yeah, that's so important. You know, I was just thinking about when you were talking, as a chaplain, sometimes you're so tired, and like in anything, you know. And I was just sharing with somebody that when I do it, I go in and I do my best to minister to the family what their needs are. And when I do that, I come out and I just say, thank God that I can do that. And it builds me back up like fast. You know, it builds me back up because just the work is so rewarding. It is so incredibly rewarding. So it's important to find little ways that we, like me, getting in the car and saying, I'm tired, but thank God for that. That family, I just was able to touch that family, you know, and to help them. And it builds you back up and you're ready for the next visit, you know, or the next, whatever it is that you have to do, you know. And I think it's important to kind of find little spaces like that where you can just rebuild yourself and talk to yourself and just say, you know, yeah.
And that's what's, I think, is something that's so great about hospice is we have this regulatory meeting, right, that we have to have every week to talk about patients. But you and I both being in hospice know that's one portion of the meeting, right?
Right.
One portion of the meeting is doing that regulatory plan of care review. But really, that's such an important time for hospice workers to decompress and to lift each other up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we do. And people, it just happens. It's organic. Everybody builds each other up, you know. But tell me about yourself, Crystal. Tell me about how you got into hospice. What made you pull toward that? And you know, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So as you had read in my bio, I was working in acute care setting, 3 years as a nursing assistant, 3 years as an RN. And when I had transitioned to an RN, I pretty quickly realized it probably wasn't for me, the acute care setting. Most days or most mornings, because I worked night shift, I would leave the hospital kind of feeling like, what did I do? I've been here for 13 hours. It's a big chunk of time.
And what did I do?
What did I really do? Near the end, and this is what I was talking about earlier, right? A huge sign of burnout. I was one of those people.
I was just going there.
I would never, I had a commitment to my patients, so I wouldn't call out sick, but I frequently was calling the staffing department and saying, if you need to call anyone off tonight,
please call me off.
I volunteer, right? Because I was getting no fulfillment. Part of it is just you're passing meds, you're computer charting, right? You're not getting that one-on-one that I craved with patients. And the other part really for me was kind of the lack of autonomy that the acute care setting allows nurses. So I have been very proud of you know, obtaining my bachelor's, being a nurse, passing the boards, which is one of the most difficult tests in the United States. And then felt this shift where I was then in the hospital and had to call a physician for every single little thing and then get yelled at by calling the physician.
Oh my gosh.
So I think in between the lack of that one-on-one and then what I felt as a lack of autonomy, I've pretty quickly felt like, you know what, I don't think this is for me. So I was already struggling with that. And then as you had mentioned, my stepdad was on hospice and we had a poor experience. My mom wasn't informed of medications. He unfortunately suffered at end of life. And I left feeling like we have to do better than this. Our patients deserve better than this. Our families deserve better than this. So I met a blessing at the hospital who actually worked for VITAS and just went back to acute because he was working on getting his master's degree. And he was like, you would be perfect for hospice. I told my family and they were like, you cry at everything. How are you going to go do hospice? Literally, that was their response. When I went to VITAS, I interviewed, accepted the position same day. And shortly after starting, I felt like this is where I'm going to spend my career. And those dreams have just grown from me wanting to be the best RN case manager and provide the best care to my caseload to now in the position I'm in. I want our community, I want our nation to know about this beautiful benefit that everyone should have access to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so rewarding. Hospice work is, and having people understand hospice philosophy is so important, because a lot of families don't understand, or they would immediately want to put their loved one on hospice care, because it's just so meaningful, and there's so much care. So tell me about how does burnout impact someone's sense of identity?
Yeah, so I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, right? When they're feeling burnout, they're compelled with being whatever their role is.
Yeah, they might even question who they're
are
am I supposed to
outside
be
of
here?
exactly outside of that role, right? Like I once again, I went through this schooling, I took this test, I'm supposed to be a nurse, but did I make the wrong decision? Should I have not gone into a nurse? Because as healthcare providers, who we are in our career and our profession is such a large part of who we are.
Yeah.
When that's coming in question, that can easily make you question so many other things about your life.
Yeah. During the pandemic, I had doctors, I was doing some training at a hospital, and I had doctors that actually contacted me and said that they would come home and look in the mirror. One in particular said about the mirror that he asked himself, is this my calling? Because it was so difficult for him to handle life and death during the pandemic. And he didn't bargain for that when he became a doctor. I mean, he didn't think about that there would be a pandemic and he would be hearing people wailing down the hall because they just lost a loved one. He didn't. And so a lot of them were being really impacted. And in doing that, were, questioning their role, their call in life, their identity. And I think like you, what you're saying, it's so important for the team to nourish each other and during the IDG meetings, to be able to do that. But that happens where burnout and fear of not being able to handle something that's so important, so incredible, profound, you question, am I in the right calling? Am I supposed to be here? And once you get over that hump, then this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. But yeah, it's really something how it can really play with your, once you're, especially if you're really overly exhausted, it could play with, who am I? Am I supposed to do this? Do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to grow old doing this? So what practices or habits would you say help prevent? And I know you touched on, throughout, but just, specifically, what practices would you say help prevent burnout?
I think the biggest one is, I had a significant loss a couple years ago. Okay. And I actually had 2 people give me the book, I'm okay. It's okay that I'm not okay.
Okay, yes.
Along those lines.
Yes.
Sorry about that. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that we have to allow ourselves not to be okay sometimes. So if we're having a difficult day at work, if we had a loss that impacted us, we have to allow ourselves to feel that.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, that's when you're building up that trauma that you're talking about. Yeah. And I think often as hospice providers, right, we think, well, this is part of our normal day work. I just need to keep going. And we have to allow ourselves time and space and energy to feel whatever we need to feel. Yeah. Whether it's that grief, whether it's even questioning, am I in the right career? Because I would tell people, right, question that. Yeah. That's good that you're questioning that, right? Right. And how we talked about at breakfast, maybe that means going down a different venue, right? For me, I was working in acute. That wasn't it. Yeah, because I questioned it, I'm still in nursing today. I'm in nursing that looks very different, but I allowed myself to question, is this what I want and what I need, prior to getting to the level where I was like, I'm not doing nursing anymore, right? So if we allow ourselves that space and to question that early on, that prevents that burnout and that feeling of wanting to throw your hands up.
Yeah. And then maybe even walking away from something like you ended up where you're supposed to be. But if you wouldn't have, and you would have forced the issue, you could have ended up walking away from nursing altogether just because of that. Yeah, that's really something to think about, you know, because you really want to go over that, you know. So how can agencies and other hospices, other companies support their team emotionally with wellness? You know, I know at VITAS we're always having some kind of, you know, training, something to listen to educate us or to just keep us, keep us up to date on things and how we can, how would you say, what would you say to other agencies, even smaller ones that are trying to build and all that? How do you keep your people from burning out?
Yeah. So I always tell people, you know, VITAS has 4 vision mission statements. I always tell people that the most important one is number 2, we take care of each other. Because without that, we can't do the others, right? Then patients and families won't come first if we're not taking care of each other. Then we can't do our best today and even better tomorrow if we're not taking care of each other, right? So that's really what I would urge agencies is allow that space during IDG. Do events that aren't just why the trainings are great, that aren't related to hospice. Today at the office, I know you were there yesterday, we have cocoa and cookies and ornament decoratings, right? Because that allows people personal space, right? Some time to decompress that they're not even thinking about. Oh, I'm decorating an ornament. I'm able to take just 5 minutes and take a deep breath. So find activities like that aren't even related to hospice or healthcare that allow your people to just breathe. And then most critical, have leaders that believe in seeing their employees as people.
Yeah. So
because
they're not
with that,
and then that's so important. Yeah. So there's, you know, I feel like you are housing a lot to be able to share, you know, and I want to give you that space. So, you know, talk to me about what's on your heart. Like we're here, we're going to have this program's going to, you know, it's going to air everywhere. So what is on your heart? What would you really want to talk about today with hospice and with burnout? I know we're talking about burnout, the importance of all that, and that all that is very important, and you can integrate it. But just what do you have on your heart? Like, what would you love to just expound on?
Yeah, I think, you know, expanding on the burnout, as we discussed, what's most important is in healthcare, if you're not happy where you're at, to look into other venues. Right. And like we talked about, trust me, I know change is scary.
It is. Especially today with AI and everything. It's just like,
But you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the patients and the families, and you owe it to the community that if you're not happy or fulfilled where you're at, to find something else. I know we were talking about nursing, and same thing with chaplaincy, right? You could be an acute care nurse, you could be a school nurse, you could be a hospice nurse, you can be a private duty nurse in LA, in Beverly Hills. There are so many venues for healthcare providers. So please challenge yourself if you're not fulfilled to find something that fits and works for you. The second thing is, I know turnover, especially related to burnout, is so high right now as well. Find an organization that believes in you. Find an organization that supports you. I've been with VITAS for 10 years. And for me, that support, that growth, that development is critical to me. So that fuels me, right? Me being able to grow so that I could help other people grow so I can impact the community. So find what's important to you and find an organization that will align with that. Right.
And that believes in you. I love that you said that, because that's so important. Sometimes, you know, you feel like a person can feel like they're just being used to fulfill whatever it is that they need, or, you know, or for money, or for, you know, for the organization to grow and all of that. But when you really feel like you're cared for, and people care about, you know, about helping you get your job done and to develop and to grow in it, you know, that's so that's so key, So anything else that you have that's on your heart that you really want to share? I know some of our colleagues are going to be watching too. So they told me yesterday.
So no pressure. No, I like I said, I just think that's so important. And when we're talking about that, right, my blessing list is long with people at VITAS, because it's not a small thing to me that I am 36 years old, and yes, I'll go ahead and say my age, in the position that I am. But I'm in the position that I'm in, because I feel like I'm meant to be here.
Yes.
But part of me meaning to be here, it took a lot of people at VITAS along my path to help lift me up to this.
Okay.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Find what's important to you once you find that role, and people that are going to help support that mission.
Yeah. What would you say to your colleagues that are watching?
I would say to continue to reach out for support if they need support, right?
Yeah.
That even though this is our job, even though this is our career, it's human for us to have difficult days. It's human for us to feel like maybe we're not in the right place.
Yeah.
The best thing that we can do, like I said, for ourselves is to sit in that, to allow ourselves to feel that, and then to take action on that.
Right. Yeah.
So the importance of that self-care, especially in all healthcare, but especially in hospice, is critical. And like I said, like you said earlier, really feeling the weight of what we do.
Yeah.
We not only, and I tell people this all the time, and I say it's my TED Talk about bereavement. When I tell people all the time, right, of course, people think hospice, you provide end-of-life care. That's what the focus is. But I always tell people to expand on that, because the way we provide care and the family's experience with end-of-life impacts them for the rest of their life.
It does. I agree.
How they felt around that passing, they will carry for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. That is huge. Yes.
I know. Yeah.
That is huge, right? So number one, sit in that and let that, really feed you and fulfill you. And when you have the times when maybe it doesn't,
right,
which is okay. Like I said, it's human. Figure out what resources you have. Our chaplains on the team.
Yeah.
We have a bereavement service manager. We have EAP. We have so many resources to really figure out and help you process through those feelings.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's so good. I want to cover everything that's on your heart, and that's why I was asking you. Because I know sometimes that's important to be able to give a person space when you're interviewing them to whatever it is that they're saying. It seems to me that it's just so encouraging to listen to your story and how you arrived at where you are.
Thank you.
And you're liked very much, by the team, by all 4 teams, you're liked very much, and people really appreciate how you always send out those emails and all of that. And I think that encourages everybody, and it keeps you, even if you're tired, even if you get exhausted, even if there's like 3 families that are heavy duty, you got to go see that day, you still can come back to a place where you feel that support, and you feel that energy, that, that it's almost like a happy energy. You walk in and everybody is just kind of supporting each other and ready to help each other. And then you have you at the helm that has an ear, and you come into like yesterday you came into IDG and you were sharing yesterday. What was it yesterday that you came?
The holiday party, our holiday events this week, and then our YWCA partnership.
That's right. Which I still have to do that. But I mean, it just makes it a part of, everybody's a part of, and that's very important. And I think that helps from people just kind of dealing with their exhaustion when they get too tired, when they work too hard or when too long hours and all of that. But I really believe that that especially in hospice and with first responders, it's so important to not allow ourselves to get to that place because it creates within the team. In fact, I just did a program on collective trauma, where everybody feels it. Yeah. So like if you allowed yourself to get burned out, everybody would start feeling it in the place. Everyone would. And it would be impacting everybody's work, their morale, all of that. So that's why it's such an important topic. It really is. So I want to give you the space if there's anything else that you need to cover that maybe we haven't today that is important. I want to make sure that I bring it up to you,
Yeah, I think just like we were continuing to talk about, right? And I thank you for those kind words. Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to grow up at VITAS, right? Yeah. Like I said, 10 years is a good chunk of my life already.
Absolutely.
And to me as a leader, it's important that I know every single one of my employees. And it's taken time, but it brings me just as much joy. And so I'm glad it brings you guys joy to go into IDG and say, you know what, I'm busy today. I have a lot of meetings, but let me go fuel myself up and go sit with my people for 5 minutes and share, some fellowship and some exciting things that are happening.
Yeah.
So even for me, it's important to find those things that kind of ground me and reconnect me. As you climb up the ladder, it is easy to become more disconnected with the day-to-day of hospice, the fulfillment of hospice.
Right.
It's true. For me, it's important to ground myself and reconnect with my people to remember like the absolute specialist thing that we do in hospice care.
Did you do one more thing? Did you notice when you were on the field versus now that you did different things to regulate yourself? Like now, I would imagine you have to, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Like when you were on the field, what did you do?
When I was on the field, I worked very closely with my social worker.
Oh, okay. They're great.
Yeah, as you know, and my chaplain as well. As you know, in hospice, we do a lot of driving. So we would call each other in between visits. We would call each other on our way home. To just discuss what we went through that day. And that goes back to what you're saying, right? Is if one team member is feeling off, it does impact the team because the team in hospice is so tightly wound together that if one person is feeling off, everyone's going to feel that.
Yeah. I feel like I work closely with Leda Moreno, our social worker that is on my team. And I work closely with her. We connect on the phone all the time. We have lunch once in a while, and that helps to be able to do that and to be able to talk about, what did you do with this family to help them? Oh, I did this. I'm doing this tomorrow, and it just helps to balance everything out. Now, as a general manager, what do you do? How do you? I know you touched on some of this stuff, but just to kind of summarize, like, what do you do that's a little bit different? Do you have like another colleague or? I
do. I have a general manager in 94. So prior to me coming back to Covina, I spent a lot of time in the national role in the program in Torrance.
Okay.
And they had a new general manager start during that time. She actually worked for VITAS as a field social worker about 10 plus years ago, went to other hospice agencies and worked her way up to leadership and is now back with VITAS as a general manager.
Okay.
So because she's familiar with VITAS, because we were working together in the program, I actually probably speak to her about 3 times a week on the way home. We talk and bounce ideas or maybe some frustrations that we have, because I'm honest, right? We're human. Some frustrations that we have, we'll share those things together. But really, really for me, it's connecting with my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always been connection. So the key is connection.
Yes.
But you just connect with different people for your job and what you're doing, and it helps. Yeah. So that's really important. So, well, if there isn't anything else that you'd like to share, I wanted to give you the space to to share anything else that might be on your heart. But you've shared a lot already, and it's very, very helpful. And I know it'll be helpful to the viewers. But if there's anything you'd like to say in closing, please.
Yeah, I think just like going back in a recap, healthcare providers have such a difficult job, no matter what field you're in. And so really urge you to take care of yourself, to find that work-life balance, to find a field that fits you, that fulfills you, to find people that pour into you, to find organizations and leaders that believe in you and build you, because there are so many different opportunities as healthcare providers. So I just urge people to take care of themselves, be kind to themselves. And if you're not feeling that fulfillment, although change is very scary, to try to find something that fits for you and will bring you that fulfillment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I want to thank you for sharing, so much. And there was so many questions that I had, but I mean, it's just you kind of like go like this and you just want to talk, So I think it was very helpful. So I think that people, give them food for thought, about what helps and how you just get yourself in certain corners where you need to get out of, so, but anyway, so the honesty, all of that is very, very important. But I want to leave you with just a few tools for all of you, first responders, hospice workers, carrying grief and carrying trauma. Remember to name the losses, even the small ones, things that bother you. Helpers often skip their own grief because they're focused on others. So take a moment to name a loss you carry daily. Like what am I holding today? What am I holding this week or this month? Name it so you can release it, so it's no longer a weight. It's so very important. Also, create a safe person. Like Crystal was saying, a safe person to debrief with, somebody you can speak to about what's bothering you or your job, or just have that space to be able to do it, because helpers need a human outlet. We all need a human outlet. Maybe not with a patient, because we're there to help them, but find a safe person for yourself, and a 5-minute debrief can make all the difference in the world. Also, schedule little rests for yourself, micro rests. They don't have to be macro. Just like I said in the beginning, sometimes I'll sit in the car because something's really tough, and I'll just sit in the car and I'll thank God that I'm able to do what I'm doing. But I just sit in the car and it just takes me 2 or 3 minutes, and all of a sudden I turn and I'm strong again. And I tell myself, I'm so grateful that I was able to help that family, and give me the next family. I'm on my way. I'm going to go help them, And so it really does do that. So we take a moment for micro rest, and it's calming. It calms the stress, and it becomes something that we need daily, right? Practice emotional rotation, and by that I mean listen to a song in the middle of the day. Turn on the song in the car when you're in the car going from place to place, or watch something that makes you laugh. Even if it's 5 minutes, it's just rotation so that it's not so serious all the time. That usually helps. And give yourself permission, which is what Crystal said, to feel your own humanity, because you know what? We are all human, and we all feel sometimes like crying with the family. Sometimes we feel we need rest or we're going to pop. Sometimes we need to pause and start thinking. I remember, with bereavement, sometimes I would go have to turn on, I'd look for I Love Lucy or something to watch to break it, because I needed to break what I had just been listening to, and sometimes we need that. So to everyone that's listening today, your compassion is a gift, but you also deserve care, you deserve rest, you deserve support, and you're truly a gift. So your humanness is not weakness, and you do not have to carry this work by yourself. And for those at VITAS Healthcare, my colleagues, all those working in the hospice and palliative world, and for first responders everywhere, we're standing together, we're standing with you, and we understand each other. I do want to mention that VITAS Healthcare offers grief support and not just to the families, but to the community. And that's unusual, I have to tell you. So remember that there is virtual grief support groups for you. If you need grief support, if you need caregiver support, there's something for everybody. So it's all being offered right now, and it's virtual. And we have some new schedules coming up soon, very, very soon. So if you are interested, please email me. The email is up on the screen, soulsynergynetwork@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me, and I'll give you all the information. And again, it's no cost to you. This is something that VITAS Healthcare offers, which is amazing to me. So I wanted to leave you with that. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I thank you for your time. Please subscribe. Take the time to hit the subscribe button. Take the time to write to me, and I'll write back to you. And until we meet again, God bless you.